Loyola University basketball coach Sheryl Swoopes, she's under investigation, accused of mistreating players. One of them is speaking out this morning, telling us why she wanted to transfer. ABC's Lindsay Davis is here with the details. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning, Lara. Sheryl Swoopes was the first woman to ever sign with the WNBA. But this morning, the college coach is not only under fire, but under investigation after reports that the majority of her roster has decided to leave.
Dismissed her. And the reason for this was Caitlin Clark. They didn't merely replace Sheryl Swoopes.
There's a lot of other shit going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Over there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some new shit going on around there.
It's a lot. So you have players that are very significant on this Indiana Fever team that are like, I don't
want to be here.
This is where I want to be.
Yeah, now listen.
Swoopes sat on her horse months ago and prophesied doom for the Indiana Fever. Miss Caitlin Clark asserted that no one wanted to play in Indiana and boldly stated that no elite players would sign there.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. As always, appreciate your support. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19. Let's go. So I wanted to do a little bit of a dive into the Fever roster, what that looks like. Now that we've gotten through the bulk of the free agency offseason, we've seen a lot of changes.
In the present day, the Fever recently executed the largest free agency move in WNBA history.
And the way they came back the second game, it just makes you excited to, okay, I want to be a part of that. They didn't lay down and quit. They came back and actually try to beat us early, that next game. So
consequently, superstars signed game-changing players and Swoopes.
So y'all can record this, you cannot record it, but the biggest thing I want everybody to hear me say right now.
She's been incredibly silent. Have you ever witnessed someone disappear after speaking their mind? That's what's happening right now. Indiana just released a statement that has an impact on the entire league, and we're here to explain everything.
All right, Hoop Queens, gather around because we've got some major tea brewing in the WNBA. Indiana Fever just landed Brianna Turner in free agency. Brianna Turner, let that sink in.
However, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel before we get into the juicy information. Keep up with the most recent WNBA news, expert analysis, and all the drama that you won't find anywhere else. Let's get started.
But I think you're starting to get a little bit more shine from maybe the casual fan, and maybe some folks who maybe didn't know or haven't seen Indiana as much as they've seen this year.
I agree.
So what's that part like, getting that little bit more attention and getting a little bit more shine and getting the recognition that
the Indiana Fever completely turned free agency on its head by building a powerhouse instead of just signing players. If you've ever played franchise mode in a video game and gone crazy in free agency, that's exactly what Indiana did. They stacked their roster with seasoned champions, tough opponents, and players who bring both skill and swagger. This wasn't a passive offseason. Rather, it was a calculated takeover.
Wait. Yep. You look good on me, huh? Look good. Like a whole 360. Like, I think I was talking to my wife about it. I'm like, man, what if I go back to Indiana where I started? That'd be crazy. Look where I'm at.
Initially, they acquired Natasha Howard, a three-time WNBA champion and one of the league's most formidable defensive players. Howard not only defends opponents, but also eliminates them with her ability to switch onto any player, own the glass, and protect the rim, which immediately improves Indiana's defensive identity.
Going for your services, Dawana, so why was this the right opportunity for you?
I just feel like it was the location for one. My kids are literally right up the road, and I've spent a lot of time away from them, so that and the core that they have here now is just kind of want to fit in, be another piece to the puzzle, and hopefully bring the energy dynamic and take us to a different level in the playoffs.
Dananna Bonner, a sixth scorer who is a nightmare for the defenders, then arrived. Bonner adds a critical element and leadership championship experience, making the Fever a real playoff threat
In Sophie Cunningham, the Indiana Fever are trading for a multi-dimensional wing, capable of knocking down the three ball.
Cunningham is starting to cook. Cunningham three is good. Cunningham from the corner.
Locking down defenders.
Several deflections in. This time she gets the steal and the N1 opportunity.
And they hadn't finished. An example of a walking spark plug is Sophie Cunningham. She thrives under pressure and plays with a chip on her shoulder, which is something Indiana sorely needed. To top it off, they added Sydney Colson, a seasoned presence with championship DNA who unites teams behind the scenes. She is fearless when trash-talking and ready to energize her team and the crowd. This isn't just a collection of talent, it's a recipe for success. The Fever didn't wait for greatness, they built it. Colson's leadership in the locker room will be just as important as her skill on the floor. The media has been spreading the same old tired narrative for months. No one wants to play for Indiana because the team is viewed as a dead zone where elite players wouldn't even consider it. Analysts dismiss the Fever, and Sheryl Swoopes in, practically scoffing at the idea that Indiana could attract top-tier free agents. For many, the Fever were just a struggling team with no real pull in the league, unable to hit Jones, so Connecticut had better look for another O board. Off the mark, and yet here we are. Indiana not only acquired free agents, but also some of the top talent available. The team that reportedly failed to draw in stars has put together one of the WNBA's most dangerous lineups.
And that's where you brought up the Fever. I think what I've learned in my WNBA experience is pace of play trumps physicality, it trumps size, it can trump experience, because a lot of times when you're experienced, it's really like code word for your veteran, which is code word for your old.
Slow the pace.
Yeah. So I feel like
I know that's why you guys were so good for those
in
years.
2018 and 2020, the years we won, that was our whole mantra, was pace, 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 pace. And what I see in Caitlin,
Howard, Natasha, Danana Bonner-Cunningham, Sophie Colson, Sydney, these players are not merely warm bodies. They are game changers. They are playoff-tested veterans who could have gone anywhere, but instead they chose Indiana, which dispels the myth that the state is an undesirable place to play. Now, the same analysts who
Face, unable to hit. Bree Jones, another O board for Connecticut. Better look for Mabry. Off the mark.
missed Indiana are arguing that no one wants to play their take like spoiled milk. With Caitlin Clark in town, a front office Mac making aggressive moves, and a roster that is suddenly among the best in the league, the entire perception of the Fever just changed overnight. And it all boils down to one obvious reason. They created a culture that players want to be a part of. Indiana isn't just back there, though.
Oh, it's a triple-double for Caitlin. What a reaction by Kelsey. Well, how about the knowledgeable fans in this building? They burst out of their seats like it was a game.
Stop dancing around it, please. This is the full impact of the Caitlin Clark effect. Caitlin Clark is a franchise-altering force that not only elevates her club, but also completely changes the WNBA landscape with the Indiana Fever. She is not just another rookie attempting to find her spot in the league. It's no coincidence that a team that had been having trouble for years ends up becoming the league's most talked about squad. Since Clark's arrival, the franchise has become a place to watch and a team worth joining.
So when you talk about the young girls that came in, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, rookie class, really hyping up the league coming from college to the WNBA, what has that done for you and the buzz of this entire league?
I think it's so positive. I really do. I think it's a fun time to be a part of the W. I truly believe that. I think the skill and the talent has always been there, but now it's just the viewership. And so I give a big old clap to the rookie class. I think that's a lot to deal with when you're at that age and you have that many eyes on you. But I think they've done a great job in the league as well. I think the physicality and all that they're going to get used to, but I think especially Caitlin Clark, she's been killing it.
Caitlin Clark was a factor when Sophie Cunningham signed with Indiana. Players aren't just hearing about Clark's ridiculous shooting range or ostentatious assist. They're hearing about her leadership, competitive fire, and ability to improve her teammates. That's the kind of player people want to be around. She's a magnet drawing talent and attention to a once-overlooked team.
I'm going to use her word. I want to see her continue to be a dog. She is a dog. Here's what I'll say about Angel. I love the fact that she's just her, right? And she says she's unapologetically Angel. She plays hard, both ends of the floor. It doesn't matter what the score is. The thing that I think people question wasn't so much about her game or her rebounding, but it was the scoring. And the fact that she is either averaging or almost averaging a double-double is pretty impressive to do from anybody, but in particular a rookie. I just love how she's come into this league. She's embraced the bumps, the bruises. She's embraced the good with the bad. And I love watching her play because she plays hard the entire game.
And speaking of Sheryl Swoopes, she believed Clark was overhyped and would take years to succeed in the professional ranks. However, in actuality, Clark leads the league in assists, routinely drops 40-point games, and is changing the WNBA's power dynamics. Clark is the reason why it could be necessary to pin down this place wide open, because Indiana isn't just growing better, they're getting dangerous. Caitlin, although Clark is dominating defenses and breaking records on the court, her influence goes well beyond that. She is also pushing record ticket sales off the field, breaking TV viewership records, and inspiring a newfound interest in the WNBA in people. Every Fever game becomes a spectacle, and every Clark showdown becomes a must-watch. Observe TV. It's not only a rising.
Pin down here, wide open. Bang!
Sheryl Swoopes didn't see this coming. She thought Clark would have to prove herself over time and struggle to get her spot. Instead, Clark entered the league and took it by storm, and she is now the main reason the Indiana Fever are now the preferred destination for elite for years. The WNBA waited for a player who could change everything, someone who could bring the league mainstream attention, fill arenas, and create a real shift in the sport. The truth is that player is already here. Talent players want to play with her, coaches want to build around her, and fans want to see her. The old guard of the WNBA wasn't prepared for this, but they now have no choice but to accept it. Caitlin Clark is changing the game's rules in real time rather than waiting for her turn.
Swoopes has it, turns in the air for the game.
Before becoming one of the most electrifying players in WNBA history, Sheryl Swoopes was a sensation on the college stage, leading Texas Tech to the 1993 NCAA title with a record-setting 47-point performance in the championship game.
If you thought the Indiana Fever were dangerous the previous season, wait until you see their projected starting five for the upcoming campaign. They aren't just a strong lineup, they have a championship-caliber core that combines youth experience, shooting defense, and leadership. The Fever aren't just preparing for the future, they are ready to win now.
November, and the game didn't need saving. I don't know who came up with Caitlin was a savior. That's not true. But what the game needed was a disruption in the economic marketplace, and that's what we're seeing here, and that's why it's been so fun.
In the center of everything Caitlin Clark, the team's face, is a scoring machine and an excellent playmaker who can pull up from anywhere on the court. Kelsey Mitchell, a piece shooter with quick offense who can take over a game in an instant, is next to her. Together, they form one of the league's most lethal backcourts, and Dananna Boner is the seasoned presence that every contender needs. Clutch, defensive-minded, and playoff-tested.
Down that slows the whole team down. Use her body and get to her spots and being able to affect that defense.
Clark is coming off a masterful night and starts us off.
The front court is as deadly. Natasha Howard is the enforcer this club needs, anchoring the paint with her rugged physicality and championship experience. This lineup has it all: shooting, defense, leadership, championship DNA, and a future Hall of Famer in the making. Aaliyah Boston is a dominant force on both ends of the court. The rest of the league needs to pay attention because Indiana isn't coming to compete. They're coming to take over.
Absolutely. Just watching Fever last season is how young they were, and also how they made it to the playoffs, like as a young group. Like, you really don't see that a lot in WNBA. So, but I was just really proud of their work ethic, how they were so hungry and they were passionate about winning games and stuff. They had each other, but they trust each other out there, and that's the type of.
Sheryl Swoopes was all over the media not too long ago, loudly doubting Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. She dismissed Clark's impact, understated her ability to adapt to the WNBA, and made it clear that she wasn't buying into the hype. However, during a recent broadcast, commentators showered Clark with praise, marveling at her dominance on the court, and Swoopes sat there in complete silence for a full minute and 60 seconds of awkward, uncomfortable quiet without rebuttal, counterpoint, or acknowledgement that perhaps she was mistaken. The woman who had a lot to say prior to the season abruptly ran out of things to say.
Picked up by Barnes. She drives right around her. Right baseline. Spinner in the lane. In and out and back in again. It's a long throw.
It was.
Then came the most suspicious moment of all, when Indiana played Dallas, a game that would have required Swoopes to watch Clark humiliate a teenager live on television. She was oddly absent from the broadcast and removed from commentary. It seems improbable that when the receipts pile up and the takes begin to deteriorate like spoiled milk, it becomes increasingly difficult to reveal your face, and at this point, Swoopes appears to have vanished just as Clark is disproving all of her skeptics.
Hey, what's up, H-Town? It's your girl, Sheryl Swoopes, throwing out the first pitch. Here to cheer on the Astros. Yo, we gotta get it done tonight. Let's go, Stros!
The truth is that Caitlin Clark didn't wait her turn, which is why WNBA veterans like Sheryl Swoopes are upset. The league has always had an unwritten hierarchy in which rookies earn their stripes, pay their dues, and gradually move up the ladder before being crowned superstars. But Clark didn't follow that script. She didn't request permission or wait for a nod of approval. Instead, she entered the league with the assurance of a champion and played like she belonged right away. For some people, that's a hard pill to swallow. Her influence extends beyond the court. She's making headlines, drawing in record-breaking viewership, and altering public perceptions of the WNBA. When veterans toil for years without receiving the same amount of attention, it's easy to understand why Clark's ascent hurts.
When I look back at a lot of firsts, right, that I've done and I've been able to do in my career, first player signed, first player to have a kid in the WNBA and come back.
The WNBA is entering a new age thanks to Clark, who is expanding the sport, drawing in new players and changing the league's status quo. For the old heads who believed they were in charge, this is a wake-up call that the WNBA is no longer regulated by the same regulations as before. Whether the veterans like it or not, Clark's arrival indicates that the league is changing and that she is the face of that transition. Clark continues on this trajectory. She's headed for MVP sooner than anticipated. The league's old guard may not want to acknowledge it, but Clark is already playing at a high level. Her playmaking, scoring, and impact on winning speak for themselves. She's not just a fantastic rookie, she's a game changer in real time, and if Indiana wins big this season, her meltdown with her detractors will go down in history.
6 of 17 outside of Mitchell, but she's open and splashes home 3 more.
Some may find MVP talk premature, but let's face it, Clark is already demonstrating that she belongs in the discussion. If she continues to lead her team and produce elite numbers, there's no reason why she won't be in serious contention, and if that occurs, the WNBA may need to get ready for a new league face much sooner than they anticipated.
Last November, and the game didn't need saving. I don't know who came up with Caitlin was a savior. That's not true. What the game needed was a disruption in the economic marketplace, and that's what we're seeing here, and that's why it's been so fun.
That's right. The fever completely turned the league upside down, exposing Sheryl. Caitlin Clark's success in the WNBA altered everything. Did Indiana just solidify their position as the next dynasty, in your
Clark
opinion?
is a force
Before
of
you
nature.
go, hit the like button,
She
subscribe,
hosts It's
and
a Privilege
enable
to Be Here in
notifications.
Iowa, shooting
Then,
around with
leave
the
your
best in the
opinions in the
college
comments
game.
below. Watch this space for more insightful WNBA commentary, and we'll see you in the next one.
17 outside of Mitchell, but she's open and splashes home 3 more. Caitlin Clark has 6 assists, has set the record.
You women out there, y'all petty, man. Hey, LeBron, you're 100% right on these girls hating on Caitlin Clark. Y'all petty, girls. I expect men to be petty because we're the most insecure group in the world.
Oh, you are.
Y'all should be thanking that girl for getting y'all ass private charters, all the money and visibility she bring into the WNBA. Don't be petty like dudes. Listen, what she's accomplished, give her her flowers.